So I'm very excited to welcome Sid, who is our advisor to Atlas Capital, who's been working with us for the past year or so to moderate the panel.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for staying. This is the last session, and I'll try to keep it interesting and not drag on too long for you guys. But so before I introduce the speakers, I just wanted to add on to what Gukai said a little bit. And the last session was on net zero cities, and why are we talking about carbon capture and clean air? Well, each year we globally emit about 52 billion tons of CO2. And that stays in the atmosphere a long time. It stays in the atmosphere 1,000 years, actually. And just naturally, there's not enough natural absorption of that CO2. So we have to talk about ways to remove some of the carbon, store it, potentially put it to other use. Closely related to that is clean air, which is, the Bangkok Governor's Office talked about this morning. Those of you who live in Asia, Southeast Asia, we deal with clean air issues all the time. It's not directly the same as carbon in the atmosphere, but it's something that affects the quality of life and is related to agriculture burning and the wildfires caused by extreme weather. So we're going to talk about some of these things today, and I wanted to introduce our speakers on the panel. I think, so the Bangkok Governor's Office is no longer here today. Okay, so we'll start off with left to right, if that's all right. So we'll start off with Mr. Bastiaan from Ecologic Circle, one of the startups that we'll be presenting today. Thank you.
It's on. Hi, I'm Bas from Ecologic Circle, a co-founder. Ecologic Circle is a agro waste processing startup in the carbon mitigation, I would say, and clean air space. Although it's still in startup phase, it is a it is riding on the shoulders of a existing company in the sustainable rice area. A key aim we are trying to tackle is tackling the rice, the reduction of burning, open crop burning. You will have heard a lot about open crop burning in the region. It is very extensive, 4 months a year. It is a massive amount of burning. If you look at satellite images, it's entirely red, and it is right across the region, not only Thailand, but also the broader region. The governments have been trying hard to ban burning of agro waste, and they have not managed well. They have, it is very difficult to enforce it because the farmers continue to burn. And the process has, the burning pollution leads to a, the burning pollution leads to not only a negative effect in terms of health, it also leads to a negative effect in terms of the broader pollution. What is actually the emission that is formed is also is from the straw, but also from the burning of the soil. The burnt soil is the microorganisms in the soil is also burned, and that makes the soils a lot more sensitive to the need for fertilizer, and highly dependent on chemical fertilizer, and chemical fertilizer actually has a heavy carbon footprint. The carbon footprint, sorry, I'm really messing that. The key thing that we need to achieve through the fertilizer. The key thing we need to achieve is stopping the burning as well as using more biofertilizer. We are in the processing of the straw. Ecologic circle creates a disincentive, offers a disincentive to rice farmers to grow more, and through a process of offering value to the farmers. The process is a pulping process which enables us to extract cellulose from the straw, which is itself is which itself is has a market in the paper industry, as well as can be molded into packaging products. A byproduct of the pulping process is biofertilizer, and across the region, rice is a major crop across the region, and therefore processing of the rice straw, there's an abundant amount of raw material, and we aim to process or convert more than 1 million tons of straw per year. And we have, in the process, we would actually capture or mitigate more than 2 million tons of CO2.
Okay. Thank you, Bas. Yeah, look forward to hearing more from your product on the panel. Thank you. Okay. Next, we have Elisa, who's visiting us from Hong Kong. So Bas represented the startup on our panel, and Elisa represents an accelerator from Hong Kong.
Thank you, Sid. Hello, everyone. Sawadika. I'm Elisa from Brinc, Sustainability Associate Program Manager. So we are a global venture accelerator based in Hong Kong since 8 years. And we started our first sustainability vertical 3 years ago, and since then supported more than 50 entrepreneurs in food and ag technology. And now we're moving into carbon removal with our new accelerator in climate tech. So we are interested in any kind of carbon capture, utilization, storage technology, and also enabling technology. We're interested in full-time founders with a prototype and annual gigaton reduction potential at scale. So we think our program is unique as we are offering relevant resources for founders to accelerate CDR in the region. So we offer catalytic funding. Any team who is joining the program is insured investment, and we support follow-on investment and post-program portfolio support. We have a global network, so all the startups are going to get connected to follow-on investors, mentors, and corporate partners for addressing the specific challenges they will encounter. We also provide scale-up support. So we have test facilities partnership for direct air capture and ocean carbon removal to enable scale-up support. And then we provide tailored support to our founders. So we really want to have small cohort to provide a customized curriculum to our founders, depending on their specific challenges they will have to address. So a high level of our program, we're going to cover 6 modules with our curriculum. So modules are ranging from finance, team, market, pitch, technology, and impact. And the different format will be one-on-one meetings, group session, or workshops. So the next cohort is going to be announced soon. And if you are interested to join as a founder, application will open as well in the upcoming summer, or if you want to support as a mentor or corporate partner, feel free to reach out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elisa. Okay, and for our third esteemed speaker, we have Kun Pattapon from SCG, Siam Cement Group, which is one of the oldest conglomerates in Thailand, also one of the most innovative, and the microphone.
Thank you, Kun Sid. I think you pretty much cover all about my companies already, but I'm Tay. I know my name said Pattapon up there, but in Thai systems, we have nicknames, so you can call me Tay. I'm the fund manager in SCG Deep Tech Fund. SCG is short for Siam Cement Group. Although we have cement in our names, we have been much more diversified than we have been in the past. The company is a publicly traded conglomerate. We have been around for more than 100 years old. What else? We based in Bangkok, Thailand, although our business right now has been expanded all across the world. But our focus has always been Southeast Asia, especially in the high growth areas like Vietnam and Indonesia. The company, our Deep Tech Fund, many of you might have heard our funds called Adventures. We have two separated funds. One fund's focused exclusively on digital business model funds. The Deep Tech Fund is more focused on hard tech, hard science problems and innovations. So we use these funds since 2018 to scout for new technologies across the world. So far, we have 15 portfolio companies, mostly in US, in EU. We're trying to use this fund as a way to find new technologies to help decarbonize our industries. So the company right now, like Kun Sid said, we have cement, which is one of the most carbon-intensive product. We have chemicals, we have packaging, we have logistic networks all across Southeast Asia. So there's a lot of touching point between a technology provider and our company, which in the past we have been suppliers, customers, distributors, etc., etc. So I guess with that, glad to be a part of the panel.
Thank you very much, Kun Tay. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a good cross-section here of startups, corporates, and accelerator. We were hoping we had the Bangkok government is here as well, but they had to leave early, unfortunately. If you guys were not here earlier, the representative from the governor's office was talking about City Labs, which seems to be an opportunity for startups to collaborate with the government and solve problems that the government has already identified, and actually give you the space and the resources to try to find solutions to make the quality of life better here in Bangkok. So I thought I'd just plug them a little bit since they're not here. Going back to our esteemed panelists, I wanted to start with you, Elisa. Since I imagine at the accelerator, at a global accelerator, you probably get a lot of applicants, and I know this is the vertical around climate tech is relatively new, but you've been in the space for a while. And I was curious if you could share with the group some interesting technologies or trends that you're seeing in the CCUS space, the carbon capture usage and storage space. Yeah.
Yes. Hello? Okay. Yeah, sure. This is a question that we're getting a lot recently in the APAC climate tech space, and we've received a lot of global application, but in terms of trends in Southeast Asia related to CCUS, what we've seen in terms of trends is CCUS combined with waste management, as you mentioned, using biomass to do biochar, to avoid the burning of biomass like rice husk burning. And then secondly, also, as Antonio mentioned before, combining CCUS with building materials, concrete, to permanently store and sequester carbon with mineralization method. Then in terms of countries, we've seen in Indonesia a lot of biomass utilization, like biochar, and in Philippines, as they have really deep waters near shore, this is great for scuba diving, but it's also really great for ocean carbon removal, as we can really sequester carbon near shore there permanently.
Great, great. And then on the flip side of that, what are some challenges these startups have? Do you see in Southeast Asia? You know, we talked about early sessions talked about regulation. Still have a long way to go. What other challenges do you see so far?
So the challenges here compared to other region in Europe or North America, where CCUS is way more advanced in terms of regulation and policies, is in the region the lack of incentives or regulation from governments. Also, a limited willingness to pay for these early technologies without attractive economics first, and also, as it was mentioned in the talk before about energy transition, Southeast Asian countries have to really transit from fossil fuels and coal burning to renewables and energy storage, and this is something that has to be taken into account for energy-intensive carbon removal solution that can create more pollution if the energy is not clean.
Okay, thank you. Moving to Baz a little bit. The startup that you're with, Ecologic Circle, I know one of the products you do is you take rice straw, right? And instead of burning it, you're trying to encourage farmers to essentially upcycle it, right, into like biofertilizer or biodegradable packaging, right, for food instead of foam or plastic, and then that can turn into organic matter. As a startup yourself, what challenges do you face? Yeah.
Thank you. Of course, the capital itself and the whole operation around it. But I think there's also a need for more investment or incentives into processing, incentives to make it more tax attractive. BOI has some sustainability incentives, which are, let's say, 2 to 4 years exemptions for certain products, but in fact, they are many more to reflect the urgency and the need for the time in related to these products. This is you should have a much more. It should be much more of a tax incentive. I think also the challenges are related to R&D. We have to produce consumer products which require a lot of further R&D, and there's a lot of investment that can be done into that.
It's interesting because the packaging that you're trying to produce, obviously, you're competing with existing products, right, at a certain price point. I don't know if you've done the numbers to calculate what the green premium is, or the premium is for let's say food sellers to switch over to your products. Is that something that you've?
Well, there's a very important role that the Thai government has actually a very good roadmap for plastic. By 2027, we're supposed to be entirely neutral, totally recycling and totally reducing, and that is having a big impact on the actual market, the ability to compete. So it's the biopackaging is opening up, and but at the same time, the plastic price is high right now. So we can actually compete, and that's one major thing that we offer, is that all of our products are profitable and can compete with plastic, and that's a major change. If you look at a lot of the cornstarch kind of products, they are much more of a green premium, let's say. So that is a major difference, and the plastic policy will help us a lot, and you can see it already now. In shops like Macro, the shelves are filling right across the row with plastic, with eco products rather than plastic. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it was interesting. Bas mentioned the BOI. For those of you who are not from Thailand, the BOI is the Board of Investment, and they provide certain tax incentives for people to open or build certain types of businesses here. With the plastic bags, I thought it was interesting during COVID. Actually, people temporarily switched back to using plastic bags because it was seen as more sanitary, right? Obviously, at hospitals, they're not using recycled. They're not reusing the materials, right? And the same mentality applied to plastic bags that you got at 7-Eleven and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I think we're back on track now since we're past COVID. Yeah.
Theoretically, we should be able to make masks as well. So there's so many things that you can produce if you put your mind to circular value. For example, we are doing also a capturing of CO2 from the boiler stack. We use rice husk, and we can capture CO2, which is what we call green CO2, because the CO2 that our beverage industries and other industries currently use natural gas to produce the CO2. Yeah. And so we offer a green zero-emission solution. But we can also extract silica, which is a high-value product. We can do bioethanol. We can do carton. If you think about how many cartons are used for your home delivery, Amazon does some 4 billion per year. So those are all products that we have further and down in the pipeline.
Great. So lots of potential just from rice straw, right? Not to mention other
and circular mindset.
Circular mindset, rice straw. Not even talking about other agricultural byproducts yet, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Kun Tae. So Bas just mentioned clean carbon dioxide production. I'm sure at SCG with all the products that you manufacture, there's some interesting byproducts as well. But when we were talking the other day, you kind of outlined a short-term, medium, and long-term plan in terms of what technologies you're looking for in terms of carbon capture, usage, storage. Would you be able to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that cement is one of the most carbon-intensive product, and it also is unfortunately also one of the most produced product in the world as well, cement. So we are in a very carbon-intensive industries. We also have plastics, which also another very carbon-intensive and massively produced product. So SCG, that's why we invest in these startups, right? We're trying to find new technologies to help us attack or mitigate it, and as well as find new opportunities for the company itself. And in terms of carbon, I think we not only just carbon captures, utilization, and storage. We also invest in renewable energy storage, and everything else as well. In terms of carbon captures, we see it as the longer terms technologies that we can use with our companies, mostly because long term but necessary. Because if you would like to get rid of 20 billion tons of 20 million tons of carbon emission, you would have to have some ways of capturing it. You have to have some ways of turning it into something useful, and you have to have ways to even storage it, because what can you do with 20 million tons of carbon dioxide? So I guess that's our goal. It's necessary, but it's probably longer terms away, because as we have discussed it throughout this panel discussion, the incentive is not there. The willingness to pay is still not there yet. That's why venture capital is a good tools to not only invest but also keep track of these developments, to make sure that when the time comes that we need it, there's something that we can use.
Great, thank you. I think the National Academy of Sciences in the US, they've said that by 2050, to get to net zero, we still need to find a way to capture about 10 billion 10 billion tons of carbon a year. So basically that means that even if we restructure all the industries the way we produce things, there's still excess carbon in the atmosphere that we need to find a way to remove. So it's good that SCG is looking at that. What advice would you have for startups looking to get investment from you or potentially work with you? Maybe you can reference a few examples from the 10 plus startups you've invested in over the past few years, or maybe that they're not even startups. Maybe some are established companies. Yeah.
I think that question is can be answered in a couple of ways, I guess. But I guess with especially in the hard science startups that focus on decarbonization, I would suggest you to follow the money, I guess, because in Thailand we know that it's very difficult to implement these things because the incentive is not there. There's no regulations and stuff like that. That's why when I introduce our fund, even though it's a decarbonization fund, most of our portfolio companies is in EU and US. US just legalize the largest climate bill in the world. EU has carbon tax, carbon intensive to help. I mean, if you are a startup in Thailand, I would say this is a really big problem for the world. If you are solving hard problems and you think you have a breakthrough technologies, you follow the money. Because when you do a deep tech startups, you might be able to get it in the lab, you might be able to pilot it to a couple of kilos, tons a year scale, but when you really need to compete, you have to make it at, I don't know, 1,000 tons, 10,000 tons even, maybe 100,000 tons. For cement, the scale might be 1 million tons a year. So I guess that's, you need to have certain incentive to be able to incentivize and keep the funding going, I guess. Yeah, what else did you ask? I'm kind of lost.
No, that's fine. I think you answered the question. I think
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we were speaking the other day also, you said most of your investments have been actually outside of Asia, right? So if there are any startups out there listening to this broadcast based in Southeast Asia or Asia, you have a very strong potential partner in your backyard here who's willing to work with you and probably be your first customer, right? Yeah. Okay. Elisa, we have a couple extra minutes. So I wanted to ask you in terms of the startups that are applying to your program, do you have any recommendations of either how they can create a strong application to apply to your program, or is there a particular area where you have a gap, where you'd like to fill with a CCUS company or climate tech company? Anything you'd want to say in that regard?
So we for our upcoming cohort, we have quite a spread cohort in terms of region, but we would like to see more application coming from Southeast Asia, of course. And then we're looking for direct air capture, mineralization, biochar, and utilization, whether it's for building materials, sustainable aviation fuels, and ocean carbon removal as well. So all this technology, we are super keen to see more, and also enabling technologies like MRV tools, merger verification, and report tools. These are super useful and will be critical to measure all the different technologies under CCUS. So any company fitting under this umbrella with full-time founders, a prototype, and a gigaton annual scale potential, we are interested if they are ready to scale up with our test facilities partners.
Great. So you take two cohorts per year, right? And when's the next deadline for?
So we're gonna announce the new cohort this month, and then open application for the fall program during this summer.
Okay. So the startups that are interested still have a few more months, right?
Yes.
For the summer.
Yes.
Okay. And on the downstream side, I think you mentioned to me you're also looking for corporate partners for pilot tests or sites where you can do work. So potentially maybe you could talk to Kunte afterwards about, working together with Brinc. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking for partners, whether investors or corporates. And for corporates, I think they can help bridge the gap in terms of APAC capital and markets, providing like proof of concept agreements with the startups, purchase agreements or hot tech agreements, and also if they have a corporate venture arm, we would love to discuss to share the startups going through our cohort and discuss follow-on investment potential partnership.
Okay, thank you. Last question, Baz. In terms of your startup right now, are you in fundraising mode, or have you raised funds and you're scaling up now? What are you looking for from the audience here and online that might be able to help you get to the next stage?
Thank you. We are currently in the fundraising mode. We are close to closing a seed to run our major operation, which will scale up rapidly. We have to scale up to get to those 1 million tons of straw across the Asia region. But we currently have our pilot plant is being set up. We are working closely with the German government, who has also committed a lot of support. We believe a lot in this method of mitigating carbon. We are closing on seed to start the major operation, but looking for partners to potentially join that seed as well as Series A after that.
Okay, great. And for your products, you're looking to distribute them primarily in Thailand right now, or are you looking?
No, globally.
Globally.
And that's why I mentioned in the beginning that we're actually riding on the shoulders of an existing company that's in the rice and rice derivative products, particularly in organic, which, for example, instant noodles made from rice, but an organic food product. So they have a lot of a need for these packaging products for their own. So like instant noodles, the bowl, as well as, let's say, rice snacks, their packet, the tray for those snacks. But they also have a global clientele. And in fact, our packaging would also be organically certified. So that's a big one too.
Great. Thank you very much. I wanted to thank our panelists, Baz, Elisa, Kunte, and all the other panelists today. I think this is the last session for today. And for closing remarks, Kukai is going to be yourself? Okay. Thank you, everybody.